recording. Alright, so ang ginawa ko is I just created a app.js file, no? So instead of using controller and model, doon natin siya gagawin kapag gagamitan na natin siya ng classes. Kasi right now, I wanted to parang practice yung based on dun sa ECMAScript 5 na naka-constructor and prototype, no? So, saka na natin siya gamitan ng module na merong import at saka export once na i-revise natin yung pinaka-codes natin kasi I want you to learn doing those yung line of code na naka-ECMAScript 5 muna, which is constructor and prototype, before we turn it into classes. Okay, so much better if we just do in one line of code muna or sa isang file lang muna. And the rest, right after that, saka natin siya ilalagay sa model and controller, tapos gagawin na natin siyang classes. Para at least solid yung information at saka yung kung paano natin nagawa. I don't want to jump yung patalon-talon. Gusto ko alam nyo talaga kung yung pinaka-process. So, gawin natin based by doing that, no? So, we need to add a script tag. So, instead, right? So, instead of controller, ilalagay natin. Tapos, naka-module. Sa huling part natin siya gagawin. Okay? Ang lagay muna natin is app.js file. Kasi ang bubuin natin is using, yung pangbubuo natin is using ECMAScript 5 or yung constructor and prototype. Alright? So let's just close this one. Save. Okay. Then, ang gagawin natin is we're going to start coding dito sa part ng app.js natin. Alright. So, wait lang. Alright. Right. So, ngayon, paano natin i-analyze? Yung ano natin, yung, ano ba to? Yung project natin or yung small application natin, ang pangalan is AddBook. Right? Meron siyang title, author, and ISBN for a unique ID. Okay, and we have a submit button. Kapag pinindot to, dapat lahat ng input natin dito, mapupunta dito sa table natin. So, that's the goal ng small application na to. Alright, so ngayon, gagamitan ko siya ng object or object-oriented programming. Okay, nung nakaraang project natin, it's like a to-do app or task list. It's a procedural. So at least para makita nyo what is the difference by doing those OOP and yung procedural. Okay? So this case, since AddBook, no, ang gagawin natin na constructor is book constructor. Alright? So pangalanan natin siya na book constructor. So technically, what I'm saying is, let's say, yung plano nyong gawin is kotse, car, let's say car constructor. 'Di ba? So ngayon, ano-ano yung mga part na kailangan natin gamitin. So let's just analyze. This book project, okay, has a property of title, a property of author, and a property of unique ID. Okay, so technically, using that constructor, we can able to create a property niya na title, author, and ISBN. Then, dun sa constructor natin or an object na yun is magki-create tayo ng parameter. So, ano yung parameter na yun? Yun yung title, yun yung author, and ISBN. Para every time na i-input ng user dito kung ano yung mga gusto niyang i-input na title, author, and ISBN, which is unique, no? Hindi natin pwedeng i-hard-coded yun, which is si user mismo mag-input. Once na-click niya, so kapag click niya tong submit button or in-enter niya, isa-submit natin. So, since meron tayong submit button at meron tayong i-click, we need to have a event listener para makuha natin yung input ng user dito. Tapos, using DOM, ilalagay natin siya dito, i-append natin, no? Lahat ng in-input ng user dito, kapag sinubmit ni user, mapupunta dito sa title, author, and ISBN na table. Okay, yun yung ginawa natin na structure kanina, yung pinakita ko. So with that, let's create this constructor, which is book. So gawin natin siya by ECMAScript 5. Saka natin siya turn into classes para medyo mas deep yung understanding niya. So how to create a constructor? So just create a function keyword followed by the name of the constructor. So, make sure na yung name ng constructor is naka-uppercase yung first word nung first letter nung word na constructor. So, in this case, a book. Kasi kapag small letter yan, hindi niya babasahin yan as a constructor. Magiging function lang yan. Alright? So, we want it to be a constructor. So, ibig sabihin, kapag constructor, it's a object, has a property. Alright? Yun yung madaling salita nun. So, property. So, parang, okay, this book has a property of title, author, and ISBN. Okay? So, technically, lalagyan natin siya. Tapos, siya yung parameter na kapag in-enter natin yung rich dad, poor dad, Robert Kiyosaki, at saka yung ID niya, dun mapupunta sa property na yun. So, in this case, let's add a property of this. So, this is referring to the book constructor. So, yun yung ibig sabihin. So, this dot title. Alright? So, this title, i-equal natin. Alright? So, i-assign natin kung ano man yung ipapasa niya dito na parameter. In this case, pangalanan lang din natin siya ng title. So, title. So, saan manggagaling yung title na parameter? Dito. Which is, siya yung magiging value nung rich dad, poor dad. Ipapasa natin dun sa book natin na constructor. At, i-equal natin siya with the title property. Alright, so I hope that naintindihan yung explanation ko. And then, we also have a author. Okay, yung author. So, pangalanan natin siya ng, bigyan natin siya ng property of this, that author is equal to kung ano yung ipapasa natin na author dito. Yung value niya. Excuse me guys, sisipon ako. Alright, so, technically, change natin to into, or just add a author. Paste natin. Alright, and then, ano pa yung kulang natin? It's a ISBN. Alright, so pangalanan lang natin tong parameter na ito na ISBN. Tapos, let's create a property of ISBN. So, this book has a property of ISBN. Equal natin dun sa kung ano man yung ipapasok ng user na ISBN ID. Alright, so ito yun. Alright, so we're done with the constructor para sa book. Yun yung kaya niyang gawin. So, wala tayong method. It's only property. Okay, kapag property, let's say, sa sasakyan, yung car natin, Honda, ang color, let's say red, yung year, 2021. So, yun, it's a property. So, gagawa tayo ng another constructor. Pangalanan natin siya ng UI for user interface constructor. So, constructor. So, ang gagawin natin is we're going to create a function keyword followed with the name of the constructor, which is UI. So, yung UI, siya yung responsible sa part nung behavior, no? So, meron siyang mga method. Alright? So, wala siyang property. Alright? So, kung si book has a property without a method, si UI naman, meron siyang method pero wala naman siyang property. Alright? So, paano natin gagawin yun? So, sa part nung ECMAScript 5, you need to declare UI dot, pangalanan natin siya ng prototype. So, yung prototype natin, or property of prototype. So, ano daw pangalan nung prototype natin or method? So, just add a dot. Pangalanan natin siya na add book to list. Alright? So, dahil prototype siya or method, i-assign natin siya with a function. So, siya yung merong behavior or merong kayang gawin. Okay? Tandaan nyo, etong property, siya lang yung tag-handle ng isang value na manggagaling doon sa input natin. Alright? Pero si UI, meron siyang method or prototype na merong gagawin once na tinawag natin yung AddBook to list. Alright? So, this AddBook has a parameter of book. siya yung taga-handle nung kung ano yung ipapasa natin. Alright, so later, meron tayong ipapasa. So ano daw yung gusto natin mangyari? So first, we need to declare a variable const. Pangalanan natin siya ng list. Alright, so is equal natin or i-assign natin yung we have a document that query selector. So query selector has one and only argument which is dapat nasa string. So single quote siya. Lagay natin yung ID of book list natin. So this one, kasi dyan natin i-append later kung ano yung input ng user dito. So technically dito siya. So pakita natin, inspect natin. So dun sa element, ito siya. Right, yung form natin. Ito, yung book natin. Alright, so dito natin ipapasok sa loob yung t-body natin, which is technically pinangalan natin siya ng ID of book list. Alright, so let's grab this book list. Alright, save natin yun. Alright, then, so dahil ID siya, you need to add a number sign or hashtag. So para yun yung katumbas nung ID keyword. So it's a book list. Alright, then let's declare a variable const. Pangalanan natin siya ng row. Yung row natin, we're going to use document dot create element. So we're going to create an element using dot method of create element as one and only argument then, which is dahil row, maglalagay kasi tayo dito ng tr. So madaling salita, mag-create tayo ng tr dito. Alright? So pero gagawin natin siya sa DOM para dynamic. Alright? Para interactive. Okay, so tr. So gawin natin, AddBook to list siya. So that's a model, no, nung AddBook to list. So before that, let's just add a ano ba to? Just add a event listener para kahit papaano nakikita na rin natin kung ano yung dine-develop natin. Alright? So let's just add a document. Alright? Dot. Let's use query selector. Alright? Query selector is has a one and only argument then. Yung kukunin natin is si book form. Sino yung book form natin? Ito. This one. So, si form na merong ID of book form. So, sige. Kunin natin siya. Alright. Then, let's paste in to query selector. So, ID siya. Book form. So, ngayon, bakit natin siya kinuha? Kasi si book form, siya yung lalagyan natin ng event listener. So, si book form has an input na submit. Alright? Na kapag pinindot natin o sinubmit natin yung input field na yun, meron mag-run na function. So, technically, siya yung taga-trigger. Alright? So, let's say, this one, kapag pinindot natin yung submit right now, walang nangyayari. Alright? So, nawawala lang input kasi ang default ni form is to submit the data into the server. Alright? But we're working on the front end with JavaScript. So, ngayon, gagawin natin is lagyan natin siya ng event listener. So, event listener has two argument. The first argument is the event. So, nasa loob siya ng string. So, kapag sinubmit daw niya. Alright. So, kapag sinubmit niya daw, which is kapag click niya yung submit button or in-enter niya to. Alright. Kapag in-enter niya, yun yung event na submit. So, kapag sinubmit niya daw, yung second argument is mag-run yung function. Alright? So, let's create a function keyword followed with parentheses and set of curly braces. Alright. So, technically, sabi niya, madaling salita, kapag sinubmit natin, merong mag-run na function. So, this function has one argument. Pangalanan natin siya ng E or parameter. So, ano ba yung E? E stands for event. No? So, lalagyan kasi natin siya ng e.prevent default. So, ibig niya sabihin, yung e na yon is event yon. Sino yung event natin? Siya yung submit, ipe-prevent na yung default. to submit it to the server. So, ano yung purpose nun? Sir, kasi this one, kapag sinubmit natin, ang default ni, ayan, nakita nyo, nawala yung data natin. So, ang purpose kasi ni form and submit na type is isubmit natin sa server para mapunta siya sa database using back-end programming, which is, let's say, PHP, Node.js, and so on, kung ano pa man. Alright? However, yung data, we wanted to stay dun sa pinaka UI natin. Kasi yung data, ilalagay din natin dun sa table natin, which is title, author, and ISBN. So, it doesn't make sense na i-submit natin siya, hindi naman siya pupunta sa server. So, we're going to stay here, dito sa ano natin, UI natin. So, that's why we're called the a.prevent default. So, ngayon, check natin i-demo ko lang ulit sa inyo. Pakita ko sa inyo. Kapag sinubmit natin, ano yung behavior na nangyayari sa kanya? Nagsasubmit siya, tapos nawawala yung mismong data natin. But, by adding this line of code, which is, ipe-prevent niya yung pagsasubmit, magsasubmit pa rin siya, pero hindi niya dadalhin yung data sa server. Kasi wala naman tayong backend development. Okay? So, sa front-end lang muna tayo. So, ngayon, ipe-prevent yung default. So, tingnan natin ngayon. Save ko na yung file. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert, and this one ID. Kapag sinubmit ko yan, hindi na mawawala yung data natin. So, ibig sabihin, kung hindi na mawawala yung data natin, meron na tayong kakayanan na i-manipulate yung data natin at ilagay natin sa DOM natin. Alright? So, I hope that it makes sense. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng line of code natin is importante. Alright? So, yun na. So, prevent default. So, ngayon, ano daw gagawin natin once we pindutin yun? So, hindi lang naman syempre, kailangan makuha natin yung data and so on. Alright? So, ang gagawin natin, we're going to add a comment, not a comment, but it's a cons. No? Pangalanan natin siya ng title. Alright? Yung title na variable is equal natin to document dot, let's use query selector. Alright? So, we're going to select an element using query selector. Kukunin natin is yung ID of, so this one, an ID of input. Alright? So, kunin natin siya. Alright? Kunin natin. So, string, hashtag, or number sign, ID of input. So, ngayon, I think kapag kinonsole.log natin to, let's try, no? For this demonstration at makita nyo kung paano nag-work. So, let's say title. Save natin. Tapos, kapag pinindot daw natin yung submit, yung variable, yung ID of title is i-input niya dun sa, ilalagay niya sa variable title. Tapos, kinonsole natin. So, check natin. Let's say, rich.poor.dad. Kukonsole daw natin. Tama. Enter natin. So, ano nangyari? Binigyan niya tayo ng input field, which is hindi yan yung kailangan natin. Ang kailangan natin is yung data, which is rich.poor.dad dapat. Specific. Alright? So, paano makuha yun? So, para makuha yun, you need to add dot value. Alright? So, save natin. Ulitin natin yung ginawa natin. Alright? Rich.poor.dad. Once we submit daw, mapupunta siya sa isang variable at kukunin natin siya. Check natin siya sa console. So, enter natin. Ang nakuha na natin is yung data, hindi na yung mismong element tag, which is ito yung kailangan natin. So, I hope that it makes sense. Alright. So, hindi lang yung title ang kailangan natin. Kailangan din natin yung author. Kailangan din natin yung ID, which is ISBN. Alright. So, ano daw gagawin natin? So, instead of adding a n or semicolon, we can add a comma para instead of declaring a cons, ibig sabihin lahat na to, cons na to. So, author is equal to document dot query selector. Oops. So, ano daw, walang comma kasi meron ulit tayong kasunod. Ano daw yung kukunin natin? We're going to get the input natin dito, kung ano yung input natin, which is author. So, ID of author. Alright? Pero of course, hindi yung author na input field. Gusto natin, again, is yung value. Alright? So, yung ginawa ko guys, instead of doing this, semicolon, tapos maglagay ako ng cons dito. Alright? Nagets nyo? So, instead of doing that, so medyo mas madali ito. Naglagay na lang ako ng comma. So, ibig sabihin, yung susunod mong line, automatic, it's a variable cons. Okay? It's a way of coding. It's your preferences. Then, pangalanan ko to ng ISBN is equal to a document o dot. Let's use query selector. We're going to select those ID, which is an ID of ISBN. Alright? So, lagay natin siya dito. Then, we wanted to have a value. So, ngayon, check natin. So, si title, gusto natin makuha din si author and ISBN na variable. Pakita natin. Alright? So, let's say, rich dad, poor dad, Robert Kawasaki, 1, 2, 3. Clear natin to. Submit natin. Oops. Ano nangyari? Alright. So, hindi na iiwan yung ano. Lagay natin preserve log. Okay, para makita. Kasi nagsasubmit pa rin siya. I was thinking bakit eh. So, check ulit natin siya. Clear natin to. Tingnan natin yung error. Alright, sa programming, much better na nakikita nyo yung error. Alright, so ang sabi niya dito, alright, cannot read property of value of null sa part nung app.js 19. Alright, hindi niya daw mabasa kasi guess what? Yung author natin, hindi natin siya nilagyan ng ID. Alright, this one. Kaya, hindi niya mabasa. Alright, so I hope that it makes sense guys sa programming. Okay? So sasabihin niya sa iyo kung anong mali. So we need to add an hashtag or ID para mabasa niya. Okay? So let's go back. Okay, so tanggalin natin yung preserve log. Ibalik natin siya. Right? Open natin with console again. Right? So console. Paano ba ito mawala? Yan. Alright. So click natin rich dad, poor dad, Robert. Click natin. Yan. We were able to get the data, which is rich dad, poor dad, Robert, and 1, 2, 3. Alright. So ngayon, ibig sabihin, meron na tayong kakayanan na gawin kung anong gusto natin gawin dun sa document or sa DOM, no? Kasi nakuha na natin yung data natin. That's the first part. So ngayon, ano daw yung gagawin natin? Alright. So technically, yung input natin, we're going to instantiate that into property. Kasi we have a property of book. Gawin natin siya. Paano daw gagawin? So let's declare a variable cons, diba? So pangalanan natin siya ng book. So para magamit natin etong constructor na to, you need to instantiate that in a new keyword. Alright, so i-assign natin siya with the new keyword followed with the book constructor. Alright, si book constructor has 3 parameter. Okay, so hinihingian kanya ng 3 parameter. Okay, so it required yun. Okay, so sino yung ilalagay natin? Guess what? Siya yung variable na title, author, ISBN na nakukuha nating input. Right? So, let's do that. So, ang gagawin natin, siya yung mismong kunin natin para at least alam niya saan galing. Title, an author, and the ISBN. Alright. So, ngayon, in-instantiate na natin na ipasok pa natin yung data niya dun sa book. Tapos, dahil nanghingi siya ng 3 parameter, tapos binigay natin siya sa variable book. So ngayon, si book has a property of title, author, and ISBN na kung ano yung laman nung i-input natin dito, yun yung value ni book. Naintindihan? Okay. So, check natin. Let's just console.log. Try natin. Tignan si book. Right? Kung ang ibibigay niya rin is this one. So, check natin. Rich dad, poor dad, Robert. Right? So, technically, ano pa nangyari? Naging object na siya. Kasi this one is a constructor. Okay? So, hindi lang basta normal string yung nakuha natin sa kanya. Alright? So, it's a object. Alright? Na merong author, which is Robert, ISBN, na 1, 2, 3, and title of Rich Dad Poor Dad. Kasi technically, si book, siya na mismo yung constructor natin na book na nilagyan na natin ng value, which is yung property. Pinasok natin kung ano yung kinuha natin dito sa DOM. Alright? So, ibig sabihin, meron na tayong kakayanan na gawin at ilagay dito yan. Kasi nailagay pa natin siya sa isang object. Alright? At hindi lang si Rich Dad Poor Dad na title ng book ang pwede natin lagay dito. Hindi lang si author at hindi lang si ISBN. It depends on the user. So, parang taga-handle na siya, no, ng bawat value. So, ganun nag-work. Okay. So, now, so we're done with the book. Ang gagawin na natin is, meron tayong UI. Okay, so ito na yung UI natin, constructor. So, katulad ng ginawa natin kanina, para magamit natin yung constructor natin na book, we need to instantiate that by adding a new keyword kasi papasok natin sa isang variable. Ngayon, meron lang tayong prototype na AddBook to list. So, ang gawin natin right now, no? So, let's declare a variable cons. Okay, pangalanan naman natin siya ng UI. It's a variable lang. Pero i-equal natin siya or i-assign natin yung object natin, which is new UI. Alright? So, si UI, meron siyang prototype or method na book to list. Alright? So, hinold ko lang yung kanina. Hindi natin tinuloy. Yung pagkukodes niya kasi gusto ko sana mapakita sa inyo kung ano yung binubuo natin dito. Alright? So, ang gawin natin, let's just first console.log. Ilag natin si variable row. Kasi ang sabi natin doon sa AddBook to list is first, kinuha natin yung list, which is this one. Book list. Alright, kinuha natin siya. Tapos, nilagay natin siya sa list variable. Tapos, sumunod is we created a tr. Okay, na row. Ngayon, para mag-work yan, we need to call that AddBook to list. So, tandaan nyo, yung UI natin na constructor, in-instantiate na natin siya with a variable of UI. Ibig sabihin, meron na siyang kakayanan na gamitin yung AddBook to list natin. Right? So, i-access natin, UI, kapag dinat ko yan, meron nang lalabas dyan na AddBook to list. Sabi niya dito, AddBook to list, it's a method. So, enter natin. And then, wala naman siyang, meron daw siyang parameter na hinihingi. So, yung parameter niyang hinihingi is a book. So, guess what? Ano yung lalagay natin? Lalagay natin dito is yung mismong book natin na constructor. Na ang lumalabas is this one. So, author, Robert, ISBN, 1, 2, 3, title, and Rich Dad Poor Dad. So, nakalagay siya dito sa variable na to. So, let's just grab this book and ipasa natin with the AddBook to list. Alright. So, ngayon, ang gawin natin, we wanted to just console.log yung row natin. So, check natin. Kapag tinawag daw natin sa AddBook to list, merong mag-run na parameter which is book. So, try natin. So, ang ina-expect ko dito, papakita niya na nag-create tayo ng TR. Okay? So, natin. So, maliban dun sa kinoment natin to, nakuha natin to, we created a TR. Kasi, nung tinawag natin si AddBook to list, kapag nirun natin, sinubmit natin, merong mag-run na function at kasama na siya doon. Kinonsole natin. tinawag natin si AddBook to list. For now, ang binubuo niya lang is just a TR. Alright. So, buuin natin yung method dun sa AddBook to list. So, we now created a TR. So, katulad ng sabi ko sa inyo, we're planning to just add a TR dito. Oops. TR dito. Oops. Ano nangyari? TR. Right. So, something like that. Okay. Tanggalin natin. So, after we created the TR, ano daw yung gagawin natin? So, that TR or row na, yung pangalan niya, alright? This a variable natin. It's just, we can access the property of inner HTML na pwede tayo mag-assign ng any element tag. Alright? So, technically, I'm using backtick for template literal so that I can easily access those variable natin dito. So ngayon, parang madaling salita, ang bubuin natin dito, let's say TR, tama? TR. Doon sa TR natin, meron tayong TD dito or table data. Ano yung table data natin? So for example, yung in-input natin na Robert, this one, rich dad, poor dad. Okay, para for the sake of demonstration, another TD. Ilalagay natin dito is let's say sa Robert. Pero this one is just hard-coded and static. Pag sinabing static, hindi siya dynamic. Pero I just wanted to give you an example. And this one will be a 1, 2, 3. Paste natin. So, ang plano natin is ganito. Papasok siya dito. Alright? Pero, this one is just hard-coded. Diba? Ang gusto natin is kung ano yung input ng user dito. Alright? So, dynamic. So, I just wanted to give you an idea. Pero, ito mismo yung bubuin natin. Alright? So, let's just actually, hindi dapat kasama yung TR kasi we just created the TR. Ito na yung TR natin. Siya na yung row natin. So, inner HTML, ibig sabihin kung ano yung nasa loob ni TR. Ito. So, technically, an HTML is this one. Alright? So, let's just grab, copy, and paste in here. However, we don't need a yung static. Okay? Hindi yung static na data. Ang gusto natin is yung dynamic na kung ano yung ipapasa ng user doon. So, saan natin ma-access yung ipapasa ng data na yon. Alright? So, technically, nandoon na siya sa book na parameter. Tandaan nyo, nung tinawag natin si AddBook to list, nanghihingi siya ng parameter na book. Sino yung pinasok natin na book sa kanya? Siya yung galing dito na yung data natin, in-instantiate natin siya with a book. Alright? Naging object na siya. Ito na siya. Naging constructor na siya. Author, ISBN, and title. Okay. So, with that, we can access through book. Okay? Which is this one. Through this book. Okay? Lagay natin siya with template literal. So, book dot, ano pangalan daw nun? So, book dot author or book dot title. So, check natin. Book dot title. Alright? So, console natin. Tingnan natin kung anong magiging itsura niya. So, check ulit natin. What happened? So, nag-refresh siguro yung ano. Ayan, sige. So, kunin natin. Book. Tingnan natin si row. We have a rich dad, poor dad. Okay. So, we created that. Okay. So, ngayon, by adding this book dot title, kasi technically, yung book natin kanina, merong title. Alright. So, ngayon, lagyan natin din to ng $, template string. So, we have a book, which is ito. Book that, anong gusto natin sunod na ilalagay? Yung author. Alright, so yung author natin, this one. So, we can access that. So, let's just copy that. Author. So, paste book.author. Then, the last one will be book.what? ISBN. Alright, so which is we have an ISBN. So right now, wala siyang laman. So let's try to add that. So click natin. So yung TR natin, kanina, ang meron lang is rich dad poor dad. Walang laman yung TD natin na dalawa. Check nyo. Oops, bakit wala pa rin laman? Hindi ko pa ba na-save? Ayun, hindi ko pa pala siya na-save. Alright? So kapag save natin to, another, refresh natin, check, rich dad poor dad. Click natin. So yung TR natin, double check natin, we have a rich dad poor dad. Robert kaya was Robert and ID of 123. Nakuha natin by doing this. Instantiate natin. Alright, so I hope that it makes sense, guys. So ngayon, I'm going to create another TD. Alright, so para saan yung TD? Alright, so siguro copy ko na lang to, no? I wanted to have another TD pero ang value is an A tag. So A tag, right, na merong class. Right, so just add a maybe this one, a class of, lagay ko dito a delete. Alright, so delete, lagay ko dito, dun sa delete is X. Alright, so check ko ngayon. So every time na mag-i-input siya dito, tingnan nyo, going to add an input dito, magkakaroon na tayo ng another TD dito. Pero yung TD natin is an A tag na merong X button. Kasi kapag in-input natin siya dito from here, ilalagay natin siya dito, gusto ko meron siyang X para siya yung taga-trigger ng buburahin natin. Tatanggalin natin. So right now, we have a static data. Tanggalin na natin yung static data natin dito. Kasi we're going to build that using JavaScript. So save natin. Click natin ulit. So nothing, wala na, no? So however, so let's say Harry Potter. So let's say Harry Potter. So let's say si Lisa, hindi ko siya kilala. So 1, 2, 3, 4 naman siya. Kapag save natin siya, nandito na siya. So Harry Potter, Lisa, and 1, 2, 3. And we have a tag na merong X dito. Alright, so ano daw gagawin natin? We're going to put it here, dito sa DOM natin, sa title, author, and ISBN. So paano siya gagawin? So punta tayo dito, no, sa function na AddBook to list. Right after nung kinonsole natin siya, so we have a list. Sino yung list natin? Siya yung book list, which is saan galing? Ito siya. Ano daw gagawin natin sa kanya? We're going to just use the append child. Append child was indeed a method, has one and only argument. Ang kailangan niya daw is kung sino yung i-append nyo. And guess what? Sino yung i-append natin? Yung ilalagay natin dito. Yung technically nabuo nating row na ini-input lang natin dito. Ito siya. Itong buong row na to na TR, Harry Potter, Lisa, 1, 2, 3, and delete item, na yung data is dynamic. Right? So, ang gawin natin is just, lagay natin si row. Instead of just putting sa console, lagay na natin siya sa DOM. Alright? So, let's just save. Tignan natin. Lagay tayo ng Harry Potter. Let's say si Lisa yon. Then, yung number is 1, 2, 3. Click natin. What happened? Wait lang. Bakit dito siya napunta? That's supposedly dito sa part na to. Wait lang mali ata yung structure ko. List append row. We have list. Ito, si list is siya yung book list. Tama, siya yung book list. So, i-append ko yung child niya. Dito dapat sa loob. Wait lang Nakuha na natin yung data natin. However, dito siya napunta. Dapat supposedly dito. Sa baba niya. Wait lang inner tr append child. So, siya yung list. I-append natin yung child niya. Which is dapat dito. Okay. And guess what, guys, no? Yung T-body natin is mali ang spelling. Kaya hindi niya mabasa. Okay, so, ganun ka, si si programming, kailangan perfectly tama yung codes niya. So, minsan, 'di ba sabi ko nga sa inyo, yung mga bagay na errors at saka pagkakamali, kindly try to tignan niyo kung ano yung mali kasi do'n kayo matututo. So, once we save that, alright, tignan natin uli kapag nag-refresh tayo. Alright, so ang tagal niya mag-refresh. Ang tagal, oh. So, close ko na lang. Nainip ako. Open ko ulit with live server. Alright, ayan. So, ngayon, kapag nag-add tayo, let's say, Harry Potter, which is Lisa, and 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to have a line of data data. And then, if we change this one into Rich Dad Poor Dad with a Robert and an ID of, let's say, hashtag 123, madadala na natin siya dito by creating this prototype. Right? So every time na tatawagin si AddBook to this is the submit. Kapag in-enter natin, we-run yung AddBook to this. Right? So I hope that you have enjoyed this lesson, guys. I was trying to explain it in the easiest way na pwede nyo maintindihan, kaya medyo mas mahaba siya compared with other lesson and tutorial, no? So baka you find it uh, na pwede nyong ma-mimic or ma-implement dun sa mga project na gagawin. So I'm going to cut this lesson para sa susunod. Alright?